Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Whiskey Cavalier. So a lot of interesting things went down in this episode. Obviously, the team is dealing with a mission where they were basically trying to take down a drug trafficking operation, but it turns out they would be much more than that because they also find a baby there, and it also turns out that this is not just a drug trafficking thing, it's also a child trafficking thing. So the team does an off-the-book mission to do this whole situation. And I love that it's like, okay, because initially it was only going to be Will and Jay that was a part of this mission. But what I love is initially, oh yeah, like the whole conversation of Emma comes up and it's, oh, you guys are hitting it off. He's like, the fact of the matter is, like, Ray's like, oh, you, me, and Emma should go out for drinks. And then Will's like, I've kind of gone down this road multiple times, so I'm gonna leave it up to Jay. He's like, yeah, you slept with his fiance, you broke his heart, and he would really want to kill you. And it's like, yeah. And even Jay's like, I'm on the fence on that situation, so I love that. But luckily, everyone on the team decides they want to join in because it is such a cute baby and everything. And it's like, oh, that's so cute, that's so adorable. And I love Edgar being like, yo, if the baby was ugly, would we really be doing this? And then Susan and Frankie are like, what the hell is wrong with you? It's like, you get an honest question, and I'm curious what the honest answer would be. I'm sure it's like, no, it's a child. It doesn't matter if the baby's ugly or not. But it's interesting because obviously you see that side of Frankie because her and Will are like, oh, look at the baby first. No, if you want to go first, you go first. No, how about we do it both together? I mean, it won't be weird. And Susan's like, it's going to be weird. Because the fact is, I just wasn't expecting that from Frankie. I guess I'm curious, would Frankie have been like that before she joined the team? Or is it just because she is a little more open and a little more sensitive that she is? It kind of seems like she probably would have already been like this, even though she's kind of like closed off and, well, you can make an argument cold-hearted in certain regards, but I think she still would have been like this because we do know, like, she ends up telling Will, it's like, because obviously she's saying, like, Will would make a good dad and stuff like that, but for her, it's like, she had thoughts about being a mom, because, when she was younger, she was girly, and so she always had thoughts of having a little girl of her own, but she kind of thinks, like, with this line of work, there's no way it could happen, but Will's like, never say never. Even the whole conversation between Susan and, Frankie about the whole Will and Emma thing. I was actually surprised. We're not even getting that buffer episode of like her actually being super jealous. It's like, no, like she's like, I kind of told Will where things kind of stood between us, and she's like, in all honesty, it's like they're good together. The fact of the matter is, it's like, it's not like me and Will were even together anyway, so she's trying to be supportive and everything. And even Susan's like, it's a good thing that you're doing what you're doing. I mean, she's like, apparently she ran into her ex-husband, which that's an interesting tidbit of information. That's probably going to come back in some shape or form. But it's like, oh, I saw him with his new SO, and for her, it's like, I wanted to take them both down, so. And I love Frankie being like, oh, I would have helped you bury the bodies and everything. It's like, yeah, got your back, girl type of thing. So it's like a very morbid got your back, girl, but still an interesting got your back, girl moment. So I thought that was kind of pretty neat. But I do love that everyone is fanning over the baby except for Jay. And it's actually kind of interesting because at first he makes it seem like they're gross, they're germy. Like, it's like, he's like, when you touch them, it's like you're literally touching poop. But then later on, you kind of hear Jay's explanation. You're like, oh, I can get behind it. Basically because of the way he is, kind of his idiosyncrasies and stuff like that, just because of like his weird little particulars about his borderline OCD aspect about the way he operates. He would never want that to be transferred to a baby, which I can get. I can understand because, there's certain aspects of my personality. I was like, just how... Because, there's certain aspects of yourself you don't know whether your child will get it or not. Like, my social awkwardness, my, like, low self-esteem. I don't, like... I'm not the most well-adjusted human being in certain regards, so I wouldn't want to... that's always been a part of my reluctancy to ever have kids, because I won't want one of my kids to be, like, like I said, just as weird as I am in a regard of, like, being, like I said, socially awkward and stuff like that. Like I said, I don't know if that's, something that will travel from my DNA to my children's DNA, but still, it's just one of those things. So I could totally understand that, but I did like what Edgar was saying, like, oh, him and Jay having this nice moment of him being like, the fact is, dude, in the time we've been a team, you've changed a lot, so don't ever just, close that door. And I think when it's all said and done at the end, you see Jay, it's like, oh, I think that door is a little open for him later on, because he sees, like, he kind of gets swept up in it and being like, oh, well, kids aren't that bad, so especially now having that different perspective of like, yeah, like, I've changed a lot, so it doesn't mean that my child is going to be basically doomed to repeat my mistakes and my habits and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. Obviously, they're on this mission and stuff like that. All the while, there's everything going down with Rima being Ray and Emma hanging out and stuff. And I love that Will's like, whoa, you guys are hanging out? It's like, yeah, we're drinking and having fun. It's like, yeah, but you got a good one here. Don't mess it up. It's like, it's funny you would say that, Ray, considering the fact is you're the reason why his last relationship didn't work out. And obviously, Frankie, he snaps at Frankie just because for him it's like, seeing Ray with his new boo, obviously would, mess with him a little bit because the last time Ray was around one of his SOs, things kind of ended horribly. Hence why he was like, no way in hell am I letting you, or am I hanging out with you and, my new girlfriend? Because the fact of the matter is, I'm pissed that you steal from last time. So there's that. Plus, I'm not letting you anywhere near any SO I have. So that was kind of an interesting thing all on its own. And I love, because obviously Frankie trying to get back at him is teasing him with the whole Rima. Ray and Emma's situation. And they're walking somewhere and she's like, oh yeah, the fact of the matter is, by now they're probably madly in love. He's like, oh, that whole aspect of you, being a lot more fun, poking fun and having fun. It's like, I really hate that about you now. This is a little bit in the episode, but I thought probably might have been a bigger thing, but like it's Will's birthday and everything. But I did appreciate, like I said, Frankie's got her issues and stuff like that, but even she was like, the fact of the matter is Emma's good, so don't screw this up. It's like if you call her, all it's going to do is make her think you don't trust her. The fact of the matter is Emma isn't, Gigi, she's actually really good. So I thought that was kind of a pretty little neat moment because obviously showing like, once again, Frankie being all responsible in this situation, and even Will calling himself out, being like, yeah, you're right. Because it's basically, and she says a line I thought was kind of interesting, don't stop trusting someone until they give you a reason to, which is interesting, because a comment from last week's episode kind of got me thinking about something. It was there in the back of my mind, but I really didn't push it. It's the whole aspect of Emma might be behind this organization that we learned about last episode. That she might not be this great person. The fact that she followed Will all the way back. Maybe we're going to all find out. It's like, no, she really is a good person. Just things don't end up working out. Or we might find out, like, just the fact that they had that line in this episode too makes you go, that seemed like a foreshadowing type of line. Don't trust someone until they give you a reason to stop trusting them. Or that could be foreshadowing when it comes to Frankie. Or it could be a combination of the two. Either way. So that in itself is just kind of an interesting thing all on its own. What I also thought was interesting with the whole Ray and Emma situation in regard of like, she kind of saw through him because she's basically like, I guess she might not know the full story of Ray and Will, but basically it's enough for her to later on kind of see like, oh, the fact of the matter is, because she's like, oh wow, you're going to give him like this watch as a gift? It's like, oh, I'd kind of go running. And she's like, yeah, you seem like the type who would. And he's like, yeah. He's like, wait, what do you mean? Because for her, she ends up talking about later on, it's because she sees a little bit of herself in Ray in the sense that Ray, basically has commitment issues and stuff like that, that he wants to be with someone that's unattainable, also wrecking relationships and trying to fix everything by simply saying, I'm sorry, which Emma totally got him down to a T, and she ends up giving him a journal to kind of just write stuff out. That basically, if you want to change certain aspects of it yourself, like writing stuff out like that kind of helps. So it kind of helped her change, and she's helping Ray do it. So it's like, oh wow, that's really interesting. I love how he uses it at the end, kind of writing how mean Frankie and Emma are, because he's even like, oh, you want to read what I wrote? And he slides the book journal over, and she's just like, no. And it's just like, oh, come on. Ray's taking steps. He's making a little progress. You could read what's in there, understand him a little bit. We're supposed to be team building here, but I just thought that was kind of neat. I also love the Martina situation. I wasn't too surprised when we found out she was undercover because Edgar brought up a good point, because they were like, because I love Edgar being like, yeah, I can't believe we got all beat by a hot assassin. Everyone's like, what? Wait, what? Jay's like, she could have killed us. He's like, yeah, but she didn't. He's like, okay, I'm gonna drop this. But that was a good point. I was like, that is interesting. She didn't kill you. I'm sure Vlad had his reason of like them being who they are. He didn't want to take any chances. But even I guess maybe he told. I mean, to be fair, the only people that were there were Jay and Edgar. I guess you could make the argument he thought that maybe Jay was already dead, and maybe he was fine with her just knocking Edgar out. I don't know. But I thought that was kind of interesting. And in that moment, I was like, yeah, she's undercover. And I even love it later on when they find out, like, yeah, Martina's with the CIA, she's on the team, and they're like, yeah. Edgar's like, yeah, and she's joining the team, right? Another one joining the team. He got super excited about that, and Frankie's like, when she sees Martina walks by and she handcuffed herself, and she's like, I like her, and Edgar's like, I like her too, and Susan's like, yeah, we know. I even love it later on at the end though, when he was kind of like, we'll see her again. And Will's like, how do you know? He's like, I don't. I hope so. And it's like, the fact is he's hoping that and everything kind of makes me think we will probably cross paths with Martina again at some point in time. Obviously, they're all kind of in the same wheelhouse. Obviously, CIA and stuff like that. Frankie with CIA. And obviously, like, in this, like, spy world, they'll cross paths. It would be kind of neat if she did join the rest of the team, but probably won't be that case. Maybe it will in the future, but we'll see. I hope for Edgar's sake, just, so that they can cross paths again, because, he probably wants to try and be all smooth and cool around her and stuff like that. He did step up in this episode in regard of, like, just a little tidbit of thing, but, like, he had Jay's back and took down one of the guys. You did see, like, it did seem like there was a look in his face, like he almost had to take a deep breath just because it kind of bothered him doing what he did. That was like the first time he on purpose did that, but it was just kind of like an interesting little thing, because obviously after his like near-death experience last episode, it just seemed like that might have been like a growing pains type of situation, or just him, like that little moment. It seemed like it spoke volumes all in its own. I did like that moment he had with the bear when it came to Little Will or Costa. The whole situation of like, oh yeah, he's like, oh, you came here to see little baby Will. It's like, oh yeah, why else would I be here? It's like, well, I assume because you live in the woods. He's like, what? You just assumed that I was a woods bear? I'm actually a city bear? You racist? And I just love that he turned it into a little bit like that. But I also thought it was kind of interesting, like, obviously, like, Will and Frankie having their badass moment of taking, like, everyone down like that. Martina taking Vlad down, and then obviously Will being the Boy Scout he is like, Tina, that's not how we do things. And Frankie quickly correcting him is like, that's not how he does things. And she's like, he's such a buzzkill. And it's like, oh, yay, look, Frankie, you made another friend just because she's just like you. I love that. Because even from the beginning, Jay was kind of like, whoa, because he threw his knife at Martina and she grabbed it. He's like, I think she has superpowers. It is pretty impressive how she systematically took the entire team down. Susan, especially Jay, because she wrapped her leg around him and knocked him out like that. It's like, woo, that's pretty damn impressive. So it was kind of pretty nice. Obviously, like, it was kind of a win overall because Costa was reunited with his mom. They were able to take down Vlad. He's going away for a very long time, and they were able to shut his operations down. So it's kind of a win all around. It does get me thinking about, going forward about, I'm kind of leaning into, like, Emma is in that slightly suspicious area for me, but the fact is that she got the journal for Ray and stuff like that. To be fair, she probably has done her own. I'm curious, because it might be a situation of, it might not necessarily be that she's working for that group. Maybe she's doing an MI6 situation of, like, her orders are to spy on them for whatever reason to gather intelligence. But I would assume that'd probably be like that cabal type of organization, that it'd be more so their situation. But, it could be either or, but there's a part of me that's suspicious, but, because, like, even giving the journal to Ray could be her playing into that whole thing because she knows how much it would bother Will, because she's done such heavy research on the team and knows everything there is to know about him like that. I'm assuming we're going to see probably more Emma around, and also probably, like, Frankie interacting, and just like things kind of being slightly awkward while not being awkward. Like I said, this episode surprised me because I thought we'd probably be in that stage, but it's like I said, Frankie's under the understanding, but maybe we'll see in the future where, like, oh yeah, Frankie's, with someone in that regard, and then Will kind of, even though he's with Emma, kind of gets a little bothered. We'll see. But I'm kind of leaning towards Emma's okay. I'm hoping that doesn't end up being the case, because you'd kind of be like, oh, that sucks for Will if he gets his heart broken again, because he is the dude that wears his heart on his sleeve, and if things don't work out, then, he might kind of fall apart a little bit. And there's that part of you that's like, well, I kind of hope things don't work out for the sake of, like, hey, you and Frankie totally need to get together, like, no matter what the circumstances are, because obviously you make such a good team, and the fact of the matter is you're totally into each other. We've already established that, but you are afraid that it would impact the work. So we'll see in the long run what ends up happening. I kind of feel like it's only a matter of time before that happens, which you always feel a little bad about, because you're like, oh, I want these two characters to break up, and so these other two characters can get together. It's like, that's super messed up, boy. But I can't help it. That's just how I am. It's like, when I find two people I really like together, Emma and Will, just because they're so polar opposites, but at the same time, you can tell Frankie cares deeply. It's just like she pushes a lot of that down, whereas Will embraces it, and just those polar opposites I really like together. I mean, it's typically like that with most stuff anyway. It's like the two main characters in that regard, I always want them together, you know? So, like I was saying, I'm very interested to see where all this takes us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.